All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Octavia Butler, Parable of the Sower. Welcome. We are the Baja Four, a collaboration of the 4 Unitarian Universalist congregations from across southeastern Arizona. And we've faced many changes over time, and through them we have learned this truth: we are stronger together. And we feel this strength among our congregations, the 2 in Tucson, 1 in Sierra Vista, and mine here in Amado. And we feel it extended out beyond our communities through our online programs and our relationships with you. And so, wherever you are, whenever you are joining us, you are welcome. I've shared with you the words from Parable of the Sower by science fiction writer Octavia Butler. Now, her novel, paired with its sequel, The Parable of the Talents, are, in her words, an autobiography of a fictional character who creates a new religion and sets humanity's feet on a different path. Now, inviting our moral imagination in these 2 novels, she asks us to explore how we, too, are impacted and influencing all of human history. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. That is, every one of us is an active participant in change. Change is eternal and for all time. And the combination of both of these, of our participation and change's pervasiveness, is what makes it sacred and holy. In this service, with words and music, imagery and story, we are inviting you to witness this sacred change in your life. We are touched by and we influence that change which comes to us from the past, that occurs all around us in the present, or will someday happen in the future. Within this sacred change, we are all supported and inspired to transform ourselves, our relationships, and our world today. Welcome.
We acknowledge that this land was stolen from the indigenous peoples. In what is now called Southern Arizona, this displacement, genocide, and theft of land occurred in successive waves of colonization by Spain, Mexico, and the United States. This colonization is still happening, and as we have seen in the last year with the building of the border wall, local tribal nations must continue to fight the destruction and misappropriation of their land by America. The Chiricahua Apache, Pascua Yaqui, Othum, and Opata peoples are the indigenous ancestors of this land and are still our neighbors today. They each are resilient in their maintenance of traditional lifeways while also engaging the present and shaping the future. Blessing of Time by Reverend Matthew Funk Creary. What do you say about the blessing of time? It has been said before, the only reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen at once. What a blessing it is that we are not a compact instant of birth, life, and death, but a meandering motion of the past, the present, the future. It has been said, in rivers, The water that you touch is the last of that which passed and the first of that which comes. So with present time. What a blessing that we have this middle moment to touch time, feeling the palpable push of the past and the fluid flow of the future. It has been said, no one ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and they are not the same person. What a blessing that the flow of time is not solid or stagnant, but that we live within change. Be they wit or wisdom, fiction or folly, what has been said before is not what you might say now. So I light this chalice to spark these questions. What do you feel about the meandering of life? What do you know about the flow of time? What is changed to you? What do you say about the blessing of time?
Be with us now, all you who have gone before, our ancestors and teachers. You who walked and loved and faithfully tended the earth. Be present to us now that we may carry on the legacy you bequeath to us. Aloud and silently in our hearts, we say your names and see your faces.
All of you with whom we live and work on this endangered planet, be with us now. Fellow humans and siblings of other species, open us up to our collective will and wisdom, out loud and silently. We say your names and picture your faces.
You, who will come after us on this earth, be with us now. It is for your sakes, too, that we work to heal our world. We cannot picture your faces or say your names. You have none yet. But we would feel the reality of your claim on life. And it helps us to be faithful in the work that must be done, so that there will be for you, as there was for our ancestors, blue sky, fruitful land, clear waters.
confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. 'Cause I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It would dishonor those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Just lift me up to the light of change. Lift me up to the light of change.
Hello, friends. In my personal spiritual practice, I draw strength from working with ancestors. I like to think about how even though culturally we're used to using words like simple or quaint to refer to previous periods of time, that actually the people who came before me were living in complex societies with intricate sets of rules, and they were generally doing the best they could. And often they were engaging in the ways that they were able to work towards a vibrant future. It's true that many of the things that ancestors set in motion have borne fruit that doesn't feed us. There are many toxins in the world that were developed by ancestors, and there are many social institutions that have turned out to be very harmful. And while it's easy to focus on resentment and thinking about everything that went wrong, it's also important to notice the way that staying in resentment actually keeps us from being present with what's actually happening. So when we practice letting go of resentment, become present with our current circumstances, we can notice the things that we don't like and would like to change, as well as the things that we're grateful for. And much of what we're grateful for also comes from our ancestors. I'm grateful for the small and large ways that ancestors invested in a more just and vibrant world. There's still much change to be crafted, but the many changes made in the past have helped provide worldviews and tools and healing modalities and identities and laws and stories that help us make needed changes in the present. One of the ancestors who influenced me in my path was Rachel Carson. I read Silent Spring when I was in my early 20s, and at the time when I read it, I didn't even realize that it was written in 1962. When I reflected on the fact that it had been written almost 50 years earlier, I experienced gratitude for those many decades that had built momentum towards valuing environmental work and beginning to change some of the laws and social structures. What's become clear and is evident is that much of the environmental work that has happened in the past 50 years has upheld racism and other forms of oppression. It's true that there is still a lot of change to be done, but I am still grateful for the change that has been made. And each of those individual choices by everyone who is involved all contribute toward the larger change on a societal level. Rachel Carson is someone who I value as visible and I can reference as one of my ancestral influences. Many ancestors whose names I do not know and whose stories I cannot tell you have left a lasting impact, but they themselves have been erased. Some people were forgotten in a way that was perhaps banal, but there are whole communities and many, many individuals who are intentionally erased under the hands of oppression and the attempt to create a monolithic history. Sometimes this is referred to as archival silence, when the records do not keep the stories of people who are not valued at that time, people who were in resistance to structures of power, and people who were not themselves holding positions of power. And in between those archival silences, despite the huge grief of not having access to those stories, we can hear and feel the important change that each of those ancestors contributed to our collective future. And so I invite you to join me, at least for this moment, to try on the feeling of gratitude towards ancestors. Because while it's true that many of the tangled and toxic situations that we find ourselves in the present are a result of choices of our ancestors, also, many of the tools that we have in order to enact change for a more vibrant world are the results of our ancestors' work.
I'm waking up to find my world between the dying and being reborn. I see what is and what could be. Can't close my eyes again and go back to sleep. Fill my days with blessed unrest and my nights with dreams of justice. Make me a vessel for the turning of the tide. How can I change our course? I'm just a lonely voice. Wish I could lose myself in all the noise. But if we all would rise, a generation proud, with a mighty sound, we could turn this world around and around. Fill my days with blessed unrest and my nights with dreams of justice. Make me a vessel. Fill my days with blessed unrest and my nights with dreams of justice. Make me a vessel for the turning of the tide. Ancestors all behind and before me every child. I bring the power of a long unbroken line. So when our time is through, I want to know we did what we came to do for the future ones. So in our darkest days, may we all be strong and give our lives so life may go on and on and on. Fill my days with blessed unrest and my nights with dreams of justice. Make me a vessel for the turning of the tide. Fill my days with blessed unrest and my nights with dreams of justice. Make me a vessel for the turning of the tide. Make me a vessel.
Hello, friends. Can you imagine not believing in the future? It sounds strange, I know. Not believing in something that is certain to come if I just wait for it. See? Now I'm in the future. If I wait, it will happen again. And if I wait, it'll happen even more. It just keeps coming. And so it may seem odd, but for a long, long time, I didn't believe in the future. I didn't believe in what was to come. Now, it started when I was a little person, and I learned about the human ability to go to war and to cause global devastation. I remember being really confused at first, not at all understanding. Was it possible? How could anyone build weapons that could be so destructive? Who would do such a thing? The answers only scared me. Powerful countries like ours and the Soviet Union had built arsenals of weapons, competing with each other like some kind of race to become the bigger threat. And the only finish line that I could imagine that they would ever cross left a ruined world absent of life, its beauty and its wonder blasted away. And I didn't want to live in that future. But since I couldn't stop it from coming, well, I simply stopped believing in it. And not just that awful future, I stopped believing in the future altogether. Now, as I grew up, my fear of the future, my disbelief, it changed from the threat of war to the damage being made to the climate, and now to that way that people treat one another every single day. Whatever the cause, I feared the future where the sky was spoiled and the land was desolate, the water wrecked, and all the people were gone. And there were various nightmare futures on television, in movies, and comic books, and novels created by the people who had the same fears that I did. And seeing all of these, well, I felt my fears were right. And so I continued not to believe in the future. Of course, my not believing in it didn't ever keep the future from coming. Days and weeks, months, years, even decades continued to go past. And yet none of it was proof that the future was real. I got an education. I fell in love. I became a father with little people of my own to care for. But I still didn't believe. And it was then that I met a wise elder, a woman named Joanna. And she taught me how to believe in the future again. Joanna had a deep relationship with the past, the present, and the future. In fact, that invocation that Riley and Jerry and I shared earlier, well, those all were her words. When I met her, she invited me into that deep relationship through imagination. She said, imagine meeting someone 200 years from now. You might not even be related to them. In fact, they're just future kin. And that person, they have a blue sky, fruitful land, and clear waters. And they know all about what it was like back in the past. And so they welcome you with great interest because they want to know, what was it like to be alive during that time when the future was so scary? It must have been so hard to make changes that helped you and helped you begin to make changes. Where did you find the power to keep going? They would ask in my imagination. As powerful as this conversation was, well, the first time I did it, it didn't help me believe in the future. It was a conversation I had to return to over and over again to meet future ones, many different people, over and over. And through the years, to imagine and begin to believe once again. It really wasn't until just the last few months that I began to imagine all the changes that would have to happen. Each moment for weeks and years and decades so that that future kin could even exist. And it made me realize that all of those future changes, well, they make me feel less afraid. That every change possible in the future begins with the ones that I make right now. And this, it turns out, is what keeps me going, doing the hard work to make change in myself and in all my relationships. The future, well, it's helping me build a new way forward. How about that? Believing in the changes yet to come, I found that I believed in the future once again, and that I can make changes today that were never possible before.
In honor of the risk takers, those that hold the vision with clarity and charge forward with optimism, even in the face of other doubts. You are our lamplighters and our guides. May we never forget the courage it takes to lead the way forward.
In honor of the cautious skeptics, those that gather the information needed to navigate the tumultuous waters of change, you are the map makers and the preparers of the stores. May we appreciate your attention to the details that keep us on course.
In honor of the doubters, those that may fear the changing tides of a turbulent world, you are our anchors and remind us of where we have been and where we are as a community now. May we relish your commitment to our history and your passion for who we have become.
In honor of the dreamers, those that imagine what we can be to and in this world, you're the wind that blows the sails of change, pushing us ever forward. May we revel always in your whimsy and hope that dares us to never stop becoming.
The work we do together, gathered from the past, present, and future, strengthens our community and our world. May we heed the call to always hold the vision of the Free Church ever in our sight and to work toward justice. Together, we wield a powerful spirit that is strengthened by the blessing of time and the gifts of all.